Hi guys, my name is Dorcas and I will be presenting on panic attack and panic disorders. I hope you're all doing great and we're all staying safe during this traumatizing time. Let's take these examples. For instance, you work all night on a paper only to have your computer crash before you saved your last changes, or you went through a life-threatening event which made you feel like you're going to die, or you had too much caffeine and refused to eat and started having palpitations and sweating a lot. I've had this kind of feeling before, and it was very stressful because my muscles began to feel weak, my stomach began to hurt so bad, and I started sweating a lot, and it's not a good feeling. So, moral of the story, let's all eat. Panic attacks may present itself in so many ways, and these are a few. Excuse me. Panic attack can therefore be defined as a sudden episode of intense fear that triggers severe physical reaction when there is no real danger. Panic attack can produce severe palpitation, extreme shortness of breath, chest pains, trembling, sweating, dizziness, and feeling of helplessness. When a person begins to have a panic attack, it's sudden, and because the fear towards a specific thing or a specific object is intense, the body begins to react the way the brain tells it to react. During a panic attack, the brain registers fear in the network of the cortical limbic regions. The brain begins to have it registers that fear in the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, and the hippocampus, and those regions are uh, responsible for our decision making, motor and control, mnemonic function, and emotional control. So, because the brain has registered that sort of fear, it begins to tell the body to react in that way, like react in producing severe palpitation. It tells the body to react in having extreme shortness of breath, having chest pains, and trembling because that fear has been registered in the brain. So the brain also tells the body to react in that way. That's why we begin to see people uh, show these signs, show these symptoms of having a panic attack. A person experiences panic attack once or twice in their lifetime, so panic attack itself is not that life-threatening sometimes because a person experiences it once in their lifetime and that's it. But when a panic attack becomes something a person keeps experiencing or the attack are recurrent, then that will be classified as having a panic disorder because the attacks are recurrent. You begin to have dizziness all the time. You begin to have palpitations like a lot of times, and that is having a panic disorder, and that needs to be taken care of that instance in that moment because you do not want to let it lead to having another thing. People with panic disorder may feel that they're having a heart attack or going to die because they have recurrent palpitations and chest pains. They think they're having panic attack or they're going to die. Panic disorders leave people feeling afraid and prevents them from leaving their homes sometimes. Um, I watched this video of a lady having a severe panic disorder. She said that her panic disorder prevented her from leaving her home because the moment she steps foot outside, or she's in a crowd, or she's at the store, she begins to have this panic attack like so much that like it became really bad. Panic disorders may lead to having phobias, and it's maybe life threatening sometimes, and that needs to be taken care of. their early stages, because a person begins to have it, say, once in their lifetime, and that's it. But some people have it like once a month, then it begins to grow, like having it twice a week, and it begins to grow, having it like 10 times a day or 10 times a week, which is really, which may be really life threatening, and care must be taken. So, causes of panic attack and disorders. So, during my research, I realized that some causes of there are not really special causes of panic attacks, but like there are some different factors that may lead to a person having panic attacks, and may lead to, which may end up leading to having a panic disorder. And some of these factors are biological factors, psychological factors, social cultural factors. So under biological factors, we have genetic predisposition to disorder, to the other. I'm sorry, to that disorder. Yeah, so sometimes some genetic uh oh, hold on, please excuse me. So sometimes some genes may be responsible for we having panic attacks, and some research says that the actions of some neurotransmitters such as norepinephrine, GABA and serotonin may lead to people having panic disorders and panic attacks. And some research also said that people with panic attacks have uh, lactate, like a lot of them in your brain, and lactate plays a role in the brain metabolism. And these also sort of have plays a part in people having panic attacks, and which leads to them having panic disorders. So under psychological factors, it includes harboring fear. So, when a person has a fear towards a specific object or a specific thing, the moment they begin to like see it, or they begin to think of it, or anything at all that is related to this specific fear, they begin to have this attack over and over again. And some social cultural factors says that women tend to have panic disorders more than men, and which may be true, because to say women are weaker vessels. So yeah. So we have some signs and symptoms of panic attack. So a person experiencing panic attack may experience shortness of breath, chest pains, heartache, trembling, sweating, faintness, and sense of impending danger. Excuse me. Diagnosis of panic attacks and disorders includes a person may have a panic attack, but not a panic disorder, because a panic attack happens once in their lifetime or twice in their lifetime, but then when it becomes recurrent, we know that it becomes a panic disorder. Moderate panic disorder usually happens when people have frequent unexpected attacks, but then it becomes severe when the disorder leads to a phobia, or it leaves people feeling like they're losing their mind. Diagnosis continued. A complete physical exam, blood tests to check your thyroid and other possible conditions, and tests on your heart, such as electrocardiogram. A psychological evaluation to talk about your symptoms, fear or concerns, stressful situations, relationship problems, situations they may be avoiding, and family history. So during complete physical exams, all these tests are being done to see and to distinguish from distinguish you having your panic disorder from having a heart attack or something, because people tend to think they're having a heart attack. Your diagnosis may be heart attack, but then it may end up being a panic disorder, or people may think that you're having panic disorder instead of having a panic attack. So all these tests are run to make us conclude that, make psychologists or your primary care provider conclude that you're having a disorder or you're having a heart attack. So these are some treatments for panic disorder and attacks. The main treatment that is usually used to treat panic attacks and disorders are psychotherapy and medication. Psychotherapy, which is also known as talk therapy, is considered the fast and effective way for panic attack. Sorry, effective treatment for panic attack and disorder. So results for treatment require time and effort. So during my research also, I realized that people who usually use psychotherapy came out feeling good because they got to talk about their fears. They got to try other things instead of like staying at home all the time, instead of like thinking about their fear, instead of thinking about what will happen to them when they go out. They started talking about it and started practicing other healthy lifestyles. Medication. Some medications can help reduce panic attacks as well as depression, and these medications include the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and they include fluoxetine, paroxetine, and sertraline. Serotonin and norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, which includes venlafaxine, and we have the benzodiazepines, alprazolam, and clonazepam. All these are ways to help treat your panic disorders and attacks. And some of these medications may have side effects, but using the psychotherapy treatments will be like the best and effective way, because you would tend not to have you would tend not to have side effects. And when you're on medication, sometimes you may have side effects, and sometimes people tend to rely and depend on these meds, which may be another problem. So, misconception about panic attack and disorders. Panic attack causes heart attacks, which is a lie, because when you have a panic attack, you just have chest pains and you don't have a heart attack. People feel like they're having heart attack during their panic attacks, but then they do not. Fainting is common when having panic attack. Okay, so people who have panic attack do not faint. They just tend to gasp for breath because that is what their brain is telling them to do, but the brain does not tell them to faint. People with panic disorders must take medication for the rest of their lives. People with panic disorders, as we said earlier and as we saw earlier, we got to realize that psychotherapy is the most effective way, and it has been proven that it helps people overcome their panic disorders, and not medication. And medication is not really required for you to be taking for the rest of your life. And panic disorder is a sign of insanity. That is also a lie. Panic disorder is not a sign of insanity. Because a person has a fear and the brain has registered that, people tend to think that you're going crazy or something. So these are some lifestyles and home remedies people we can practice alongside having panic disorders, alongside your treatment for panic disorders. Stick to your treatment plan, join a support group, avoid alcohol and caffeine, Practice relaxation technique and stress management. Get physically active.